Record to this computer. It's a bit dark where I am. Need more lights. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Serge.
My name is James.
And it's still not revolving around Fantasy Premier League or football. However, still coming at you with a show of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, listen, spoiler, Serge, it's not going to revolve around Fantasy Premier League for some time, boy.
This is getting interesting now. It's going to be a really long time. We have to find things to talk about.
We keep finding a way, though, mate. How's things? How are you? How you feeling?
I feel fine physically. Like I haven't had any illness symptoms or anything. Touch wood. Touch my desk right now. Yeah, not a problem. No one in the house is sick. I managed to venture out to the supermarket a couple of times over the weekend to get bits and pieces. It felt weird. It felt really weird because I'm not a mask wearer, James. So I haven't been, being ultra precautious with some masks and all this kind of stuff. So you walk around the supermarket and every other person's either got a scarf on their face or whatever. I'm like, well, what have I done that's so bad that you feel like
getting ready to get robbed?
Exactly. And then in Southgate near where we are, there's security guards at the end of every 3 or 4 aisles, making sure that people are not getting too close to each other and stuff. Real like apocalypse movie type stuff.
Yeah, it's all, I mean, I watched The Walking Dead, didn't I? So it's all normal to me, mate. I haven't left the house for 10 days.
Really?
Not at all, mate. I haven't done
10 days.
10 days. Well, I don't drive either, do I? So where am I going to go?
No, that's true.
The wife's been out a couple of times to pick up like essentials and that. But other than that, we haven't moved. 10 days has been for me.
Yeah, wow. That's incredible that it's managed to get that long.
Hey, I think it'll get to 100, mate.
I'm
not joking, mate.
This is mad. Yeah, apart from that, all good. Mrs. are all right, kids are all right. Everyone's just kind of plodding through, really. So, it's not been too bad.
Good. Yeah, my little man is much better. I would describe him as very close to 100% now. He's absolutely fine. She's snivelling around everywhere to make up for it.
All the flags have come off him.
There's nothing.
There's no red flag, no yellow flag, nothing. He's fit and available for the next game week.
We thought that in chicken pox, but that seems to have not happened. So he's absolutely fine. He's good he's kicking the ball now as well. I don't have to force him. Yeah, he's got a little ball that goes around in the living room, and I just put it in front of him, and he runs up and kicks it. I love it, nice. Mate. I'm so happy. I'd have him playing for Spurs as soon as we return, mate.
That's you might need to if Harry Kane leaves.
Yeah, exactly. You want to start there, do you?
Well, you're the one that mentioned it, but we'll start wherever. We've got a few things to cover in today's show, so we'll have a look at some of the social media antics of a couple of footballers, no doubt. And Harry Kane, obviously, in his Instagram interview with Jamie Redknapp, not only talks about his Spurs future, but he has a very differing opinion to you in terms of what should happen to the season, which could be a good point to start that conversation. Initially, when the boys started their Champ Manager FPL game, I thought, hang on a second, we could have football again in 4 weeks. So to squeeze a season into 4 weeks might be quite difficult and quite intense. Now that we're not playing for ages, I think this could end up becoming a really interesting little side hobby. So you've already released your team and done a bunch of stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, and on YouTube, I did a video yesterday as
well. So I've watched all of your Twitter stuff. I didn't manage to watch the YouTube stream yesterday, although it did pop up when you came live. And I've picked my team. I would say 80%.
We're waiting. We're excited. For those out of the loop, and perhaps those who are not on Twitter won't have a Scooby-Doo what you're talking about. 3 lads in the Twitter community, FPL Tacticians, Simple Goal, and James Lapron, have come up with this idea to simulate a season of the Championship Manager 2001-2002 game on PC. And we all have to pick an FPL team based on that simulation. And it's banging, mate. They've got nearly 1,500 players.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think registration is now closed, right? And I don't blame them, because managing that number of people in anything is going to be quite tricky, especially because it's not automated, right? They're going to have to do a lot of manual work to make this happen. So well done, credit to them. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we've had some Twitter questions in, as always. Fewer and fewer each week. People are bored of listening to
standard, but we'll just make more of the questions that we have got, mate.
Indeed, we will. So, where should we start? Let's start with what's Jack Grealish doing?
Oh my God! I mean, the first thing we have to say is allegedly, but following Piers Morgan ripping him to shreds on Good Morning Britain this morning, I don't suppose it matters anymore.
No, it's already done.
Looks like it's a little bit more than allegedly, and basically, to cut a long story short, what we do know that is factual is that about 3 o'clock on Saturday, Jack Grealish, one of the best players in the Premier League this season and someone everybody wants in the England team, released a very cute video on Twitter saying, "Stay home, save lives, yada, yada, yada." Good man.
Yep.
Brilliant. Until roughly about 18 hours later, which was about 8 o'clock the following morning, he was pictured looking slightly pissed out of his nut next to a car which everyone believes was his and has smashed into several parked cars. I had visions of him. The rumour this morning is he was at former teammate Ross McCormack's house, so he didn't even stay in. He went to like a house party at an old teammate's. And I had visions of him leaving this party at 8 o'clock in the morning and giving it the full Leo DiCaprio, mate. Wolf of Wall Street, trying to get home, mate.
Oh, dear.
Now, that's all allegedly. We don't know if it was him that got in the car. It does look like it probably was his car. The police have released a statement saying that someone reported into the police that it had happened and set off on foot, and the damage to the vehicles was minor. Jack Grealish was pictured leaving the scene on foot. I don't know. It's all allegedly. But in any case, even if it wasn't him, he released a video on Twitter saying, "Stay home, save lives," and went out.
Yeah.
Basically, mad. For a party, by the sounds of it.
And this is all of the stuff that blighted his early career. Like, was he a little bit too much of a Jack the Lad, so to speak? And you think, you know what, this season was a real breakthrough season for him. People were starting to think, like, you know, he's finally grown up and the maturity on the pitch is starting to show. Little bits and pieces like this did not help, do they?
No, there was the infamous videos, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago now, wasn't it? It was him lying in the middle of the road somewhere abroad, off his head. Yeah. But then, you know, you're on holiday, do what you want. I mean, this is a little bit different. If it's proven that, yeah, he tried to get in the car at 8 o'clock in the morning off his head, then,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know where that goes from there. The thing is, the big clubs, if Villa go down, the big clubs will still go and buy it. It won't make a difference.
Yeah. It's not going to make any difference.
He probably is potentially, and it's obviously not an immediate issue, but say England were playing in the Euros this summer, that would have really damaged him. He probably wouldn't have got picked.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if he had got dropped by Gareth Southgate, to be honest with you.
Can't get dropped when you ain't in it in the first place.
No, sorry. Okay, well, not picked. If you're not.
It's even easier then not to pick him, isn't it?
Yeah. Too much baggage that goes with it. I think that's why Dele Alli probably won't go this summer as well. Not gone this summer anyway.
Dele Alli wouldn't have gone because his performances ain't good enough. And there's Grealish, Maddison, Mason Mount, just to name three, who are more deserving in a similar position to him.
Yeah, and then you layer in the off-field stuff, and that's just like icing on the cake in terms of helping make the decision.
I think Dele's trying to sort out his behind-the-scenes stuff, but he's the sort of one you worry about with this boredom that a lot of people are obviously suffering. He's the sort of one you feel like he's got to be doing things. You imagine poor Gascoigne during this.
Oh, dangerous.
Like, oh my! If this was 30 years ago and it was Gascoigne, mate, and he wouldn't have been alone.
But if this was 30 years ago, all the play, like we're talking about a Champ Man game from 20 years ago, and you look at some of the names and the players that we could have selected, like your Tony Adamses of the world and all of these boys, they would have.
Paul Merson.
Yeah, they would have been out on the lash.
100%. Without
a lockdown.
Well, Tony Adams probably wasn't 20 years ago, but 30 years ago, he obviously certainly
maybe. Was. Yeah, for sure. So then Harry Kane jumps on the old Instagram with Jamie Redknapp. What did you make of the interview?
these little Instagram videos that people are doing are quite interesting, I'm finding, because I don't know if the players are just getting in a very relaxed state. It's different from being forced in front of the camera or the microphone straight after the game, where you're really in club mode and you're thinking. So obviously there was this little bit from the Instagram video yesterday where Kane basically gave look, I can't say that I'm going to stay at Spurs. Why would he make that promise? I heard someone else 20 years ago promise that he loved the club and would never leave, and did. So I'd rather he be honest about it. And actually, well, everybody's assumed that he's going to leave. And I think there is a growing feeling amongst Spurs fans that, like, if shit doesn't get sorted in the next 18 months or so, he has every right to go anyway. Because he's good enough to go and play for a top club anywhere. Why wouldn't he, if he looks like he can't win anything at Spurs? And he reiterated that the most important thing to him is winning things. So good, that's how he should be driven as a player. I actually took it more as a kind of a nudge towards people within Spurs to say, okay, get it right and I will be here. If you don't, I'm going. I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what take you want to have on it, James. So it's like, do you want to be honest, which is what he was, and he was also quite diplomatic. He didn't pick one side over another or anything. Or do you want to toe the party line and talk about what's right for the club, which a lot of players have done in the past as well, which is literally, I'm a Spurs player right now, so I don't really want to talk about my future and move on from it, which is the right answer, which is wrong. I definitely agree that players are more relaxed in this Instagram environment, or when they're not in front of the cameras because they haven't got somebody, not even somebody. When you look at how these studios are set up for interviews and stuff, they have like 7, 8, 10 people around them. Like one person doing makeup, one person sorting this out, one person sorting that out. They're just chilling at home, right? So I think they are definitely more relaxed.
I think in this case as well, like Jamie Redknapp thinks he's quite pally with a lot of the players, isn't he? And quite a few of the players probably will know him. He's still, you know, he does a league of their own and that. He's still acting like an idiot in his mid-40s and stuff. A lot of the players probably feel they could be a little bit more open rather than your traditional broadcaster as such. And he's got a great interview out of Kane yesterday. He also got the other thing that hasn't been picked up is what Kane said about Mourinho. And he was obviously talking about his track record and saying, yada. But he also said, if he likes you, he'll tell you. And if he doesn't, he won't.
You'll know
he
about
will
it.
tell you that he don't like you.
Yeah. He's like, if he doesn't like you, you'll know about it.
Yeah, I straight away was thinking about Ndombele. Can you imagine?
Put my ears up straight away with that.
Imagine Tanguy and Ndombele at the moment.
Oh, horrid.
What kind of chocolate is he eating, mate?
No idea. But that was one of the things that I was going to raise with you. It's like he only had positive things to say about Jose, and he's not. He can't
say
that's going to trash his manager, but he seems like he had an all right relationship with Jose.
I think actually Kane does look at it and go, whatever. I think he needs to get his own players in and whatever, and obviously knows that Kane wants to win trophies, right? And currently, right now, from that perspective, forget the quality of the football or whatever. Kane's probably thinking that Mourinho will give him a shot, and he needs to give it a chance.
Kane's the one player, maybe Lloris. Kane is the first name on the team sheet when he's fit.
I think
it does put him outside of perhaps the criticism of some of the more regular players. Having said that, at Manchester United, Pogba was the main man and Jose wound him up a little bit. I just don't know if Kane sits at a level where Jose's probably too scared to go after him because he knows the damage it could cause him.
What if Kane went after Mourinho?
No. Mourinho went after Kane in the public.
Oh, he couldn't.
No, exactly. No,
but Mourinho will like Kane. There's no doubt about that. One of the things Mourinho said when he was at United, wasn't he? He was like, when Spurs were doing really well, there was loads of players he wanted to take from Spurs, but like the situation was such that Spurs were just not going to sell to Manchester United at that stage or any other English club. So there wasn't any point bothering. I know obviously he had a big interest in Eric Dyer when he was performing well. Kane was definitely one of them, mate. 100%.
Oh yeah.
Went to go for.
I mean, any club. If the signals were out, even if one club had a bid accepted, then suddenly about 6 are going to jump in straight away. So we'll see what happens. I think he will end up choosing his club more than anything else at the end of the day, because anyone will.
I think the other thing is you'd have to say is how much would Kane cost at the moment, realistically? Let's forget the virus. If Tottenham were to sell him tomorrow, what would he cost?
Let's just Google it. He's 26, so he's still young. He's going to be 27 in July. So you probably got 4 or 5 decent seasons out of him. I think between 100 and 120 million, I reckon.
Spurs wouldn't sell him for that. I'll tell you that right now.
120. I think 120 would be a fair price at his age. The fact that the last couple of years he's had a few more injuries than he had in the previous few years, so they're creeping in a little bit. I don't see I don't see him going for more than 120 million.
Then he'll stay.
You think so?
Spurs will have a valuation on him. If Kane says he wants to go, you know what Levy's like, right? He would eke out every penny on it. I think Levy would be looking for 150. Whether he got it would be neither here nor there, depending on who's paying it. But more to the point, okay, let's say 120 million. Who's going to pay that in the current climate now for a player that suffered so badly with injuries in the last couple of years?
That's why I'm saying people won't pay 150 for him. So the likes of Real Madrid, they always like a headline grabbing signing. They buy players for the headlines, not even necessarily what they can do on the pitch, right? It's as much about shirt sales and sponsorship and all the stuff that comes with it. So it's got to be a club like them or Paris Saint-Germain who have so much money that they do it to grab headlines as much as they do for the footballing reasons, to be honest with you. I mean, any club that spends 120 or 150 million on Harry Kane will more than likely make their money back. No doubt.
So the other one is obviously
token as maybe a Messi or someone like that, but yeah, Kane's still up there.
Probably a more interesting debate in terms of financials of what may happen when football restarts is there's obviously a wide-held opinion that Jadon Sancho to Manchester United is kind of already done for more than the money we're talking about Kane. We're talking 130, 40 maybe even. And yeah, I know, staggering, right? A guy who's played like a handful of games for England. But he's what? He's still only 19, is he?
Yeah,
Sancho, maybe kid. 20.
He's 19.
So he's another one. You know you'll get your investment back. And that's what clubs are going to be looking for, is younger.
Yeah.
But can United be paying it at the moment? Genuinely, even as the bastion that they are financially, if they're not in the Champions League, how can they justify spending that money when, again, it's another player do they really need? It's not like they haven't got fast attacking forwards when they're all fit. It's, it's going to get in the way of Mason Greenwood and stuff. So I think clubs are going to be fitting differently. It's everybody's involved in this. Barca, Juventus, these big clubs are getting their staff to take pay cuts, mate. It's affecting so many. I just can't see monstrous. Let's say we did restart in June and the transfer window was as per normal in, say, August. I just can't see the club spending the money at the moment to go mad on anyone. And so to go back to, say, Spurs, Mourinho is going to have to work with Ndombele. Now, no one's coming to buy him, mate. However talented, he's a phenomenal talent. He just needs to get fit. But Mourinho's going to have to work with it. He's not just going to be able to bomb him out the door. And that's going to be the case in a lot of situations, I think.
Is he going to be the next Winston Bogart?
Ndombele?
Yeah, picking up his paycheck in the reserves and just sod it. Why would I leave when I'm getting...
And Ndombele's got to do it for himself. The difference between Ndombele and Bogart, Bogart was a good defender for the Dutch in his best years. Ndombele genuinely is a phenomenal talent. He has got it. He just needs all the other stuff, the basic aspects that you need to be a good footballer, like determination and fitness to go with it. And if he does, he'll be a top midfield player for Spurs. And then maybe we don't even need to buy one. And that's the point. Mourinho has got to find it to get it out of him.
Let's talk about the season a little bit, because Harry Kane did say if it's not done by the end of June, sod it, wrap it up. How much of that, in your opinion, is when I heard that, it goes against what almost everybody else is saying from professional football, all the way through to the FA, even our chairwoman, chairman, whatever you want to call her, Karen Brady.
Baroness,
sorry. As much as she's been getting stick about talking about voiding the season, she did say that in the Premier League meeting, everyone's ideal scenario is to finish the season. But if it can't be finished, then rather than call it a 30-game season, you've got to void the season. But she's on about finishing the season. Everybody wants to finish the season. A Telegraph article that you sent to me about closed doors, keeping it in a confined space. And Harry Kane says, if we can't do it by end of June, why bother? How much of that is just, we'll be back in the Champions League again?
Possibly. He wants to win things, right? He'd have far more chance if his team was playing in Europa League if he wants to win something. I can tell you that. Kane said basically what Karen Brady said. He just worded it very differently. The other thing is, though, and importantly, obviously Kane is England captain, and that does still hold a lot of weight in the halls in the FA and that, if that's what the England captain is saying. The football is not going to be completed before the end of June. There's absolutely zero possibility of that. I personally don't believe there won't be any football before the end of June. I don't think, in my opinion, other than maybe teams might be training again at that stage, if it's safe to do so. I just can't I can't get into this whole voided thing. I just think like the season's got to be finished. Nothing's going to change my opinion on that. And I don't care if it's in November. This season has to be finished, in my opinion.
I suppose, what do we read into Kane's comments? Is it, again, the guy's relaxed and sitting at home, so he just comes out with what he actually really thinks and believes? He's got a holiday in Barbados booked for the first week of July. That's what it is, mate.
Yeah,
true. But he'll get his money back.
I don't think anybody's worried about. Nobody's worrying about holidays, Suj, are they? No. No, I think he's actually probably doing the right thing by Spurs. I wouldn't be frightened if he said to someone, "Do you want me to say this? I'll drop it in." Wouldn't surprise me at all. Do you want to talk about this article that I sent you yesterday was it in the Guardian or the Independent? Who was it?
I think it was the Independent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is this idea floating about, and I really don't know what to make of it, of players being kind of put into camps similar to international sides travelling abroad for World Cups, European Championships, whatever, and all the games being played in sort of a confined area, be it the Midlands, over perhaps like a 30-day period or so, teams playing, say, every 3 days or so. Thoughts? I don't know what to make of it. It sounds ridiculous to me. It sounds awful for the players, by the way.
If it's the only solution to get the season finished, I think, yeah, fine, go for it.
My feelings are that the football season should be finished when we can all go and watch football again. And if that's not for 12 months, then so be it. That's generally where I'm at.
Not having fans, so there's a number of different elements to this that we need to think about. The first is like the intensity of the fixtures, playing every 3 or 4 days. What impact will that have on the players? The second thing is then, empty stadiums. Do they want to even bother playing behind empty stadiums? You've got to ask, what's the alternative? Like, is there a plan B or C or whatever that we can look at as a potential?
If all the games in the Midlands, just hypothetically, this is one thing I'm not seeing discussed it. So if all the games are played in the Midlands, what are they? Are they all in one stadium? Are they in 3 or 4 stadiums? Is it like a World Cup tournament?
3 or 4.
So take the case of, say, Aston Villa Wolves, for example. Could their stadiums be used? Is there not an advantage there?
Yeah, but
would there be an advantage if Aston Villa played all their games behind closed doors at Villa Park? Would there be an advantage for them?
Yeah. Why don't you just play all Why don't you just play all the Aston Villa's games at Molineux and play all of Wolves' games at Aston Villa Park? Problem solved.
You can imagine Spurs against Arsenal. Spurs against Arsenal at Walsall. Can you imagine it? I think, and this is harsh and nobody really wants to say it, I think this idea of the Midlands or London or something like that has come about because they know that if they play behind closed doors, they know that Liverpool are going to pack the streets when they win the title, or whenever they play behind closed doors at Anfield straight afterwards. They're going to line the streets. That's what they're scared of. And nobody wants to say it.
So that's why they don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason why they don't want to just, hey, right, everyone, home games behind closed doors, because they know that the minute Liverpool play at Anfield is going to be a catastrophe.
and I don't think it's right.
And I understand it from a Liverpool fan's point of view.
I can understand
that they want to be involved. I understand that. I understand the football.
If it was West Ham, I'd find a hazmat suit on eBay or Amazon for 50 quid and I'd go. I can wear my West Ham shirt on top of my hazmat suit and I'd go. But yeah, I can understand the emotion.
But we also know it's wrong, right?
Yeah. I don't agree. I
can't. And they know it. They know it will happen. That say Liverpool's next home game was Palace or whatever it's meant to be, that they'll line the streets. They know that because they've waited so long for it.
Yeah, and we don't want. Well, definitely don't want it because my brother and his long-term girlfriend, I think they've been together 8 years. I may as well call her his wife. Are both doctors and both live in Liverpool. So.
Oh, terrific.
I'd rather there wasn't a massive spike in coronavirus there.
Well, it probably is after they let them 3,000 Madrid fans over there stupidly.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I don't know what the solutions are going to be. I think there'll be a lot against that idea of this camp football, if you will. But I can see it having some legs. One of the reasons is the financial implications of not finishing this season. So basically, they reckon what I saw was if the season got finished, say behind closed doors, it would cost Premier League clubs about 150 million or something, sort of like gate receipts, etc., together. Voiding the season would cost them 1.2 billion.
Billion?
Yeah, between the 20 teams.
Wow. Okay, I can understand that.
When you've got to refund sponsorships, TVs, all that shit.
Would I rather void the season or play behind closed doors? I'll take closed doors all day long.
Yes.
And there is certain merit in that kind of idea and proposal. So it's not ideal. I'm not fully for it, but I can understand if that becomes the last solution, get it played.
Agreed.
But I think that's more of a June, July kind of dilemma.
I do have some sympathy for the guys talking about it because I know there's a lot of feeling like you shouldn't even be talking about football with what's going on, and I understand that. But some sort of contingency talks have to happen. They have to. And I've got some sympathy there where they're getting some stick for that. Whether it's right or wrong, they've got to do it. What's that?
You've got to talk about football. Everyone's going mad at home.
No, I mean the fact that the Premier League are trying to come up with ideas to get the season finished. There's a lot of people thinking like, you shouldn't even be talking about it. I think.
And what should they be doing?
Well, contingency-wise, they've got. Well, that's a job, isn't it? Contingency-wise, they've got to have some sort of discussions.
I agree with you on that.
What did you make of this from, what was her name? Harriet Summit or other yesterday. 6-month lockdown.
Asked me about it.
You knew I was going to ask you about it.
In one ear, out the other. I'm ignoring. Yeah. I'm trying to deal in fact right now, not in fiction. So I'll wait and see. I think as the weeks go on, people are going to be more and more anti-lockdown. And so they're just going to start going out anywhere. I don't think they're going to be able to enforce it particularly. Having said that, I did see an article on the BBC website about a guy that got arrested in Cheshire. Did you see that?
Was he wearing an Arsenal shirt?
Nah, he wasn't.
I've seen that meme.
Which means that?
Oh, it's like, mate, like what you doing on the beach? You can't be walking around in that shit on you and stuff like that.
This is the title of the article on the BBC website. Everybody needs to Google it, right? And this I suppose I'm telling you because I think more and more people are going to get like this. Driver stopped on M6 lockdown trip with wife in boot.
What?
This geezer in Cheshire on Sunday bought some windows on eBay for £15. A driver flouted the coronavirus lockdown to pick up £15 windows that he'd bought on eBay. His wife wouldn't fit in the car after he put the windows in. So my man put her in the boot, then happened to get pulled over by the police.
Oh my God.
Like, why the fuck are you out? We've got a coronavirus lockdown. And what do they find? Windows in the back and his wife in the boot.
Wow.
Yeah.
At
people will go to extreme lengths.
At that point, she should have started screaming for help.
Yeah, man. A madness. It is an absolute madness.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, look, we do have something to keep us entertained in the next few weeks, and that's this Fantasy Champ Manager 0102 season game.
Right, coming in. Let's see this team, Suj. That's what they've come
So,
for.
I need some help here, and
Right.
I have never. Well, actually, I'm lying. I played Championship Manager, the Italian version, in like 93, 94, 92,
Okay.
93, 94. And I've never played Championship Manager since. So I don't really, with real football, I understand how I'm going to score points. I understand how I'm going to score points in this as well. I can easily pick players that I like and I know are decent players in their day. I can look at the stats, all the rest of it. I'm missing this massive chunk of how Championship Manager, the algorithm and the simulation actually works. Does it favor certain players? Is there like, do you have like, I don't know, in FIFA you see like speed and passing and all that kind of stats and data? Should you be using that kind of data?
Yeah, they have all those kind of things, but you don't need it, mate. Look, people have run loads of simulations of the game to try and get the best information and stats, etc. As I said yesterday, every single simulation is doing different things.
Oh, really?
Every single one. So the guys who got the best prices in this game is Henry, Van Nistelrooy, and then Veron. They're the guys who regularly come out as the top performers, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they will. But more often than not, in most simulations, they will do very well, for example. So each simulation is completely different. You know, we've already got Michael Owen out for 6 months in this simulation. In other simulations, he'd have been one of the top goal scorers, right?
So have they basically hit start on this game and it's doing like a pre-season right now?
No, so the game right now will be paused. It's ready to start the season. They're just getting everyone organised, and then they'll simulate the game and populate the results through Twitter and that.
Right. Okay. So the fact these injuries were all from pre-season carried in, when they hit pause before game week 1, all the injuries and transfers and all that kind of stuff is in there.
Everything is ready to start the season.
Okay. And stuff that happened in real life in 2001-2 will not be replicated in the game.
No.
Fowler moving to Leeds or whatever.
Well, I'm not saying it can't, but for example, Patrick Vieira's just been sold to Barcelona for 36 million.
Yeah.
Didn't happen, right? So
no.
The game populates things like Ugo Egiog regularly moves from Middlesbrough to someone. It seems to be a theme in simulations, but it will simulate whatever it wants, mate.
Okay, fine. So we're playing a guessing game.
Basically, yeah. You've got what you got to do is, and Tom from Who Got the Assist said this very well on a YouTube video he did. Yeah. You've got to forget what you knew and just play this game.
Right. Okay. What other information about the players, apart from their price, should I be using to make my decisions?
Blanks.
The fixture schedule and stuff. Yeah, I understand that. But what
fixtures?
That's it.
Yeah, and obviously you're influenced by price, so you can get in, etc. Look, I've obviously used some of the information that's been going about in terms of simulations, etc., to help give me an idea and concise decisions. But there's no right or wrongs. Chip strategy is all over the place, mate. Don't worry about it at the moment. That's a nightmare. The biggest thing at the start is you've got to manoeuvre them blanks. So in game week 1, Bolton and Charlton blank. Game week 2, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, Tottenham all blank. Liverpool blank in game week 3 as well against Fulham. So Liverpool got 2 blanks in the first 3 game weeks. So do you want to start with any Liverpool players? Even though some of them have some great prices, you got to skip it, right?
Mm. And so it's not easy. I'll tell you my team.
Come on,
I'll tell you my team.
So it's squad of 15, same as FPL, right?
Correct. I would say that I am 70 to 80% of my team. 70 to 80%. Just because I'll watch Tom's video. I'll have a little bit of a dig around as well. There's certain clubs that I just have not really looked at all, in like Fulham, Derby, that kind of thing, Ipswich. That I want to have a bit of a deeper dive because there are a few gems in and amongst some of these that are quite cheap that can really give you make weight. And I feel like I've ended up with 15 playing players.
You won't, because I've seen the majority of your team.
I'll change some of it, but
okay.
How would you know who's going to get selected?
Well, what you can do is look through the list of friendlies that have been simulated, and it's all available through the Fantasy Champman thread if you can be bothered and take the time to look through it.
Right, okay.
That's the best indicator. So an example would be, obviously the Charity Shield was played the previous week between Liverpool and Manchester United. Jamie Carragher had played at left back rather than John Arnorisa, for example. So John Arnorisa was a popular pick. Then you see they've got them blanks, and then you see he might not even start as well. So people going, oh, hang on, that's a problem, for example.
Right. So I've picked 2 goalkeepers. One is Shaka Hislop, and the other is Schmeichel. I'm just going to rotate them. I was thinking about a 4.5 million and a 4 million goalkeeper, but I think I'm going to just go with 2 4.5 million goalkeepers. That'll do.
You're getting some applause here, mate. They're going to look like they're going to be the 2 most owned to start with. A lot of people are looking at that rotation, Hislop and Schmeichel.
Don't give me any credit. I'm using the advice that you gave to people on Twitter. Also, I mean, I did look at the price of some of these other goalkeepers and getting into the 5s and 6 millions. The likes of, I don't know, why is David James so expensive, for example? And
he's injured. Doesn't matter.
Why is Richard Wright more expensive than David Seaman?
Because he's bloody good on the game.
Right.
That's something historically that people will know. Richard Wright's out for the first few months anyway, so David Seaman will definitely start. But then when Richard Wright's fit, no one knows which way that will go, basically.
Right, okay. I consider Seaman, but I've left that out for now. So is Hislop and Schmeichel the 2 goalkeepers?
That's cool, mate.
My back 5, I feel like the team that I put together in real life would actually be quite a good team. I don't know about this game. I've got 2 big guys in the middle, England defenders in He Who Must Not Be Named for You. Regular listeners will know him as Sol Campbell. And I've got John Terry. I thought 5 million was a decent price for John Terry. He gets his head on corners and what have you, free kicks. I think John Terry's all right. So as the Sol Campbell.
Are you just trying to get everybody to hate you right now?
Why? What's wrong with these 2 guys?
Keep going. What's right with them? Keep going.
Ian Hart. I don't know, you said he's going to be the top scoring defender, so I just went with him.
Yeah.
I went with Olaf Melberg, 4.5 million. I think he's a decent shout. I needed a locked-in 4.5 million defender. And then I just picked Paul Konchesky as a 4 million. I don't know if I'll keep him there or not. I just need a 4 million defender. I've got another 500,000 in the bank, so if I decide to make that a 4.5 million, then so be it.
All right, I'll assess that. So Ian Hart is going to be probably the most owned player in the game, judging by the first 100 registrations. He had 73% ownership in the first 100 registrations. I'd predicted in the week that he would be the most owned player. Essentially, he's the TAA of the game, basically. Well, he's got the potential to be anyway.
Mm.
The selection of him from Arsenal is okay.
Mm-hmm.
John Terry is a risk, so he's a good price. You got to remember how young he is in this, right? This is going back, and he's only just retired. So this was kind of his breakout kind of period. If they play a back 4, it will probably be Desai and Gallas. If they play a back 3, there's every chance Terry will play. So there is some risk in that.
Okay.
A lot of people, you might want to look at Mario Melchiot. People have been looking at the same price as an alternative. Will be more popular than Terry, or obviously paid a bit for Gallas or Desai. Well, I just question if you want Schmeichel and Melberg. Would be the only question on that. But selection-wise, it's okay.
Yeah.
And Konchesky's okay. Him and Steve Staunton are probably the 2 most popular 4.0 picks.
Yeah, I couldn't go to Staunton because that's Schmeichel and Melberg, you know.
Well, you're definitely not going to go for all 3 of them. But you might want to, for example, a different manoeuvre might be to go Staunton and then look at maybe like Luke Young. Might be a decent 4.5 Charlton choice, for example, if you want to switch that about financially. But no, actually, generally, that seems fine. The one that actually have the big problem with selection there is Terry.
Yeah, okay. I've noted, I've highlighted him in orange right now and reconsider. Midfield, I went with Veron.
Veron?
Yeah, based on what everybody's saying about this guy being a beast in this game. I'm not
He's a don in, mate.
I'm not going to try and be too clever, and I'll just get Veron in. Tell me about Frank Lampard at 8 million.
just doesn't appeal to me. I
He's
can't
a
even
goal
explain to
scoring
you why.
machine
Well, I can part why.
in real life.
Because it looked like the Chelsea both like free with Zola playing behind Hasselbank and Goodjohnson, which probably means Lampard and another are playing slightly deeper than what Frank Lampard normally pay. And that's part why he doesn't appeal as much to me.
But 8 million's a mid-tiered.
But it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a bad pick, mate. Just when I was talking about who I got from Chelsea on Thursday or Friday or whenever it was, one of the things was I said I couldn't even really explain other than that why that Lampard and Zenden is the same price. Why they don't particularly appeal to me. They just don't, but they might do. And you're at a price point that I like anyway. You got like Freddie Ljungberg, Harry Kewell at similar prices. So if you're not happy with it, wait.
Okay. Next up, Kevin Nolan, 4.5 million at Bolton.
He's going to be the highest picked, 4.5.
Just made sense, didn't it, really?
Of the first 100. So he'll definitely be the most popular 4.5. I think part of that is a historical as well. But yeah, that's a fine pick, Suj.
And then I've gone two that you probably don't like in Jason Wilcox at Leeds at 5.5 million. I think there are some good gems to be had. He was a decent player back in the day, you know, Jason Wilcox.
He was, but he's probably in competition with Harry Kewell for a place. Mate. There'll only be one winner there if that's the case.
Okay, he's only 5.5 million.
Leeds will highly likely go 4-4. Gilton, that's Wilcox's position as well.
Okay. And then I've got Gravison in there at 6.5, Everton midfielder. But he's a holding midfielder, really. Well, he's a bit box to box.
I don't hate that. It's worth saying Everton with Thomas Rosicky is injured, so they're restricted to 5.0 forwards. So you might want to, if you want some Everton coverage, you might want to look at that maybe. And then use the money elsewhere in midfield. I don't hate Gravison as a pick. Wilcox would be the concern for me out of those.
Up front, I've got my man Terry Henry. Can't argue with him.
Yeah.
I've got Hasselbank in at 10.5.
Yeah.
And then I've got a bench filler in Bent at 4.5 million, Ipswich.
Darren Bent. 4.5, isn't he?
Yep, 4.5 million.
The problem you'll have, and I'll talk you through a problem, for example, from what you've got. Darren Bent is probably not going to start for Ipswich. He's probably going to get minutes. Again, you've got to remember how young he is, right? He joined Spurs in, 2007? Bent was young here, mate. You've got, if you take game week 2, have a look at your squad from what you've got. So you've got to think of those teams that are blanking. So you've got, Omri and the other fella from Arsenal. That's 2, yeah? Any Newcastle players?
No. Look at Rob Lee, and I may go from Jason Wilcox to Rob Lee.
But then then game week 2, if you had Rob Lee, you've got 3 blankers, right? Then you've got Darren Bent and Wilcox who probably aren't going to get minutes. Suddenly you're on 9 players, and that's without further rotation or issues.
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's the sort of thing you've got to think about. That's why, I've only started with 1 Arsenal player in Omri.
Yep.
It's not that I don't want more because they've got great opening start of set of fixtures other than that game week 2 blank. I want to attack back into them after the blank because I just can't carry through. If I'm going to leave Omri on the bench possibly in game week 2, that's enough money to be left on the bench already, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Out another premium Arsenal player. So it's how desperately do you want it in game week 1? So balancing your squad, you've got to really think about that game week 2 because it's a nuisance already.
What about Stevie G in this game? He's cheap, 6.5. Is it?
Yeah. He's a great price, and he's one that people will be keeping an eye on because of exactly that. Because they blank in game week 2, game week 3, no one's really starting. I think a few would have captained him game week 1 and sold him, but he's injured anyway. So I think Liverpool largely avoid to start with. They'll be very good defensively in this game. Gerrard, Nick Barmby, Smeetser, there'll all be options. Emil Heskey, even 7 million people will laugh, but the simulation done with Barnett, a cow's arse with a banjo, mate. He might score goals. He could be a good option at 7 million. But they're a comeback to. It's the same. Norberto Solano is a great price. Newcastle, 6 million. but he misses game week 1 because he's on international duty, and then they don't play game week 2. You can't start with him. So a lot of it is like I've got Mel Bronk and 0.5 in the bank from Fulham, for example, knowing that I can go straight to Solano or Steven Gerrard when the time's right. So there's no price change. So you want to be in and around certain values potentially, and around that Solano.
So I was that was one of my questions for you. No price changes all season.
No price changes, mate. No price. It's just going to be too difficult for the guys to manage, man. And how do they even decide? The FPL price changes are under algorithms that nobody knows the exact science to. Fix and statistics do their very best to keep track on it, but they slightly tweak the algorithms each year. How do you come up with an algorithm for 1,500 players rather than 7 million? That's a massive difference in terms of the amount of people that you're catering for. Did you see all the price falls, by the way, on Friday night? These dickheads, mate. These fucking melons, thinking it was the game week 32 deadline when it was international weekend.
Oh wow! Oh dear. Anyway, that's half our listeners, James. You just called them all dickheads and numpties.
I'm going to be honest with you. If you're listening to this podcast and you've made a transfer an FPL in the last,
what are you doing?
Days, you're a dickhead. Think about it. Next, Sidge.
Twitter questions.
Down to 2 listeners.
Yeah, true. For both of them. Well, the ones that asked questions today, we'll go through these questions and then wrap up the show. So I think we can talk about some of these in a little bit more detail. Starting at the bottom and working my way up. Although I don't think these are in any particular order, James. Frode Halvorsen. How are you, Frode Halvorsen? My accent was pretty clear, I think. So
probably offended him a lot more than the people I just called dickheads, mate.
Do me a favour and tweet me and tell me how my pronunciation was, because I might need to move to Scandinavia if this carries on like this.
You've also now assumed he's Scandinavian.
It's pretty good assumption. If not, then
I'm going to assume he's Norwegian and brilliant at FPL.
There we go.
That's what I'm assuming.
Do you think Bruno Fernandes and Pogba will be good playing on the same team, or are they too alike in playing style? I don't think they're alike in playing style at all.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
They've got similarities, but they're not the same kind of player.
I think you need to find a system for them that will work for both players. I think for United, I spoke about this on, it might have been last week's main pod or the one before. I spoke about 4-1-4-1 for United. And then
that's exactly what I was going to suggest. One holding midfielder.
Don't put the handbrakes on them. Let them get close to the forward players. It does put a defensive responsibility on wide players like Rashford, but he'll do the job anyway. They're Man United. Like, play with some swagger on that. 4-1-4-1 sounds like a defensive system. It's not. It's actually really offensive, because the one thing you do is you put serious pressure on your holding midfield player.
Yeah.
But I think if that's McTominay or Fred, because Fred has had a great season, if we're honest, then they've got the mobility to get round from side to side. Whereas, say, like, you played that system for a while and Declan Rice struggled, didn't he? Not really through a fault of his own, but he's learning in the position as well.
Yeah, I would say he wasn't the one that was making the mistakes. He was actually, like, when you talk about a 4-1-4-1, I think he'd be a great one in a 4-1-4-1 because he is so mobile. But he can't do it on his own. You need your left back, right back to help tuck in sometimes, and your wing backs to come back. We didn't have that. United will have that, so I think they will be better with that. And McTominay and Fred are decent players, so yeah, I think they can play in the same team. I'm with you on that. And
if you want an exponent for 4-1-4-1 done very well, I can't recommend a game more than Tottenham's 2-0 win against Man City, October 2016. And it was the Spurs with no Kane, no Moussa Dembele, played a 4-1-4-1, and it worked brilliantly. And that was leaving Wanyama as the one holding. He was the best player on the pitch. So if you ever want to look at our 4-1-4-1s done right, look at that Spurs game. We barely played it again afterwards, by the way.
Let's answer Pangolin's question. For certain teams, this COVID-19 break could be a blessing in disguise. Clubs in bad form before the crisis could change the curve that they were in, vice versa. Do you think you see any teams benefiting through the summer? Obviously, the obvious answer is the ones that have got
to say.
The ones that have got injuries like yourselves will benefit from having Sonny and Kane back and stuff like that. So that's an obvious given. But for others, I don't know.
I think one that will have a downturn is Liverpool. Believe it or not, I just think that'd be natural. That as soon as we restart, they're going to win the league within 2 game weeks maximum. Let's say maybe 3 at the very worst, and their season's finished. Out the Champions League, out the FA Cup, and then and after everything they've been through, suddenly in front of empty stadiums, etc. I think Liverpool are one of the ones that could really suffer because there's just no motivation at all. They'll be the least motivated team in the league. That defeat at Watford has kind of finished that, really.
Yep, I agree with you on that.
It doesn't mean they won't still wipe the floor with everybody because they could be relaxed and play great football, right? And they're the best team in the country at the moment for a reason. But I just feel like that can have a negative impact for them. The rest, it's incredibly difficult to say.
I think that some of the teams at the bottom will suffer. I think Bournemouth will suffer. Just being having to go into the coronavirus shutdown in the relegation zone and then being in that for like 4 or 5 months. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a bit detrimental for these guys. And the likes of Norwich.
There's so many things you could look at. Watford, for example. They've become quite. Does playing behind closed doors, does that affect that sort of thing? I would feel like a side like Brighton, because of the style that they normally try and play with, would benefit from it. But I've said it so many times. How many times can I keep sticking up for Brighton? You know, they need to win games of football. So they need to start getting away from that sort of thing and just get victories on the board as and when we start again. If we start again.
A few questions from our friend Shiva FPL, a couple here. Shiva FPL, firstly, he's asking about Harry, if Harry's okay, and touchwood, and God bless, Harry is all well right now. And in case we are taking FPL questions, who are more unlucky managers? The ones who save wildcard only to find out that everyone else now has an effective third wildcard, or the ones who have used all chips and sitting nicely at the top, but quadruple game week 38 will see him with huge red arrows? It's obviously the people that...
I've got an issue talking about FPL full stop. I don't really see what the point is. What is the point now talking about it? We put it this way, football isn't going to restart again until game week 38 would have been done. So nobody knows what's going to happen. So what are you going to do when you get to game week 38? You're going to launch your bent boost? It doesn't matter. Football is not going to restart on April 30th. Anybody who thinks that really needs to get their head out of the clouds, right? It's just not happening. There isn't going to be any football before what would have been the scheduled end of this season. So nobody knows what's going to happen. So what's the point?
True. And Shiv had one other question. Boris Johnson, the UK's Prime Minister, has tasted positive. I don't know if he's tasted, mate, but he's positive.
One of them idiots licking the toilet seat, wasn't he?
Do you think he might have been careless? Well, if he's been tasting people with coronavirus, he definitely has been.
He's been licking the toilet seat. Yeah, very careless.
Or the virus is worse than we all know. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know. I'm not a good person to ask about this. But I did see someone say something quite clever. Well, I say clever. They said that there's 2 things about coronavirus compared to some other viral infections. One is the how contagious it is. I think it moves from person to person much easier than some other viruses have. And the fatality rate compared to flu and stuff is much higher. So if it's transmitted quite easily and it can kill, then obviously it's going to have quite an impact all of a sudden.
Yeah. I forgot the question was.
Was he careless? Careless, or was the virus bad?
I mean, yeah. Did you see Trump handing out all the pens?
No.
You not seen that when they were signing the declaration bill, and then he hand gave like 12 people a pen.
Yeah, they always do that when they sign a.
Yeah, but don't do it.
No, he's an idiot.
How stupid are you? And obviously, look, Boris was doing his press conferences and that, but the press shouldn't have been there.
No, it's true.
They didn't need to be there. It's not like they're not going to get the information. They did not need to be in that room. You can bet your life all the press people that were in that room have probably got it already as well. So, yeah, I mean, he was flippant about it at the start, wasn't he? Oh, yeah, I'm still shaking hands with people. I mean, come on, man. It's a little bit. But yes, I think the virus is worse than people maybe who are not aware. I mean, there's no fault for me to go out. If Harry had it, and I suspect that he probably did have it, you don't want that shit, mate.
So I would suggest to Shiva a good shout. Jump on the FPL family YouTube channel from last night's video. Obviously, Sam managed to get it and spoke a bit about the KO to you. So they're probably better positioned to give you an insight on how bad the virus.
That's what little Harry was like. He couldn't function unless we had hold of him, basically. Like, fuck that, man.
Incredible. Let's talk about another question coming in from KG_FPL. Is tagging me into the tweet as well. If matches have to be played behind closed doors, you think clubs should legally stream the 3 p.m. kickoffs to make up for lost gate receipts? And would you be happy for this to carry on as a revenue stream for clubs even after fans are allowed back in? Thoughts, James?
If it goes behind closed doors, which is becoming highly likely, even if it's like October or something, every game will be on the telly.
I agree with you on that.
There's 92 games left, and if they're behind closed doors, all 92 of them will be on the telly, and they'll be free. And when we say free, you'll have your subscriptions for Sky or BT or whatever.
Amazon Prime might get a few more.
But they will all be televised. Would I have a problem with, I don't know, let's say it was a Spurs home game and obviously I have a season ticket. Would I have a problem with them charging me to stream it for free? Yeah, I probably would. But if it was, say, an away game like Bournemouth away that I can't get a ticket for and they were to stream it and they charged, the only question I'd be asking Tottenham is how much, because I'll be paying it.
Yeah.
But then that's me and I'm different. What's that?
I'd pay like a tenner a game, 10 to 12 quid a game, because
I would pay the price of an away ticket, 30 quid. I know everyone will go, what are you talking about? But I'd pay whatever it cost.
I don't think I'd do that, maybe.
I ain't spending money on anything else, mate.
That's true. And I would have, maybe, I'm assuming this is after the outbreak, the lockdown's gone down. If my brother's been all right and that, I'd get him to come around and watch the game, a couple of mates, whatever. So, yeah, I'm up for that. I'm up for, if you talk about should clubs carry on doing this, West Ham, I would say, 4 or 5 out of our home games this season. So you're talking about nearly 25% are televised. So you're only talking about the other 75%. And even those televised games are full. I don't think streaming all of the games will have any impact on season tickets.
What I would say is, if Spurs are intending to keep my money for my season ticket, I would want everybody else charged the same as Mount was made, which would be, as an average, about 60 quid.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Exactly. But then you pay for the privilege to be in the stadium, etc., etc. But if Spurs were to withhold my money and then that game becomes free to everybody else, that's not right, is it?
Yeah, no, true.
So the chances are it will be free to everybody. And I think that's what it will be dictated by what people need at the moment, because football, ITV Hub are going to be showing a rerun of every game from Euro 96, aren't they? And like things like that at that time, that lifted the whole nation. And football can lift people, and it will in this country. Is like it will be football boom, football's back on, and positivity will just come back in, and just until I see Mourinho's Spurs playing again. But for everybody around the world, the Premier League is basically available every game anyway. It's only us dickheads in the actual country where the games are played that can't see every single game. So I imagine in this scenario, every single game would become available for, I don't know, whatever. Probably, imagine what you have is Sky would still have their games, BT would still have their games, and every other game would probably be available free on some sort of streaming website, Premier League website.
Right. Couple of quickies that we're not going to answer, mainly because we've already answered them. One was from Jonathan Nagy. He talked about a certain centre-back from Arsenal becoming essential in Championship Manager FPL. Are you jumping on? And we've heard the answer to that one already.
If that prick scored every single week, I still wouldn't buy him.
So there you go. Glenn,
under no circumstances. In fact, if you have him in your team, we're not friends anymore.
All right, I'm gonna change the order of the questions.
Judge.
I'm going to change the order of your questions. FPL Oakwell, who's the player you both hate the most?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, but he's not a current player, is he? So
I don't think it didn't say current. It just said the player. I'm gonna go with Troy Deeney, but I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But I'm not one of those real haters. But Troy Deeney, I don't like him. I just think he's got too big a mouth.
I don't know why. And randomly, you stuck him in your Sky team for no reason.
Well, it was that double game week situation, wasn't it, or the split game week situation? Now we've got our friend Glenn S378, who asked about our regular jobs and would love to know a little bit more. We'll send you a link to a pod rather than answer it now, where you can find out a little bit more about us. But he also asked a second question, James. We're not going to do the whole question because
you do half a question. Just read half the question. See what happens.
The original question, Glenn, was if you could field a playing 11 made up of current Premier League managers in a 4-4-2 formation, who makes the team and what positions would they be? Now, we do have regular jobs, as you mentioned the other question, Glenn, so I think we're going to pick one manager, James, and what position you would like to see him play in right now. One current Premier League manager and position.
Nuno Santo, goalkeeper.
That's a bit simple, isn't it?
Well, he was a goalkeeper, so the team needs a goalkeeper, doesn't it? And he's the only one. So
I was going to pick Stevie Bruce because of all the most players when they get into management still stay pretty trim. He don't give a fuck, man. That guy's gone for it. So I'd like to see him at centre back, and he would be the have it kind of hoof.
Bruce would definitely be in. I mean, in fairness, you'd want Mikel Arteta probably even now in midfield, wouldn't you? He was a great player, Arteta.
Yeah. Now I want to see Stevie Bruce get his boots back on and get back to centre back. And
alongside David Moyes?
I don't see. Yeah, that'd be quite. No, David Moyes. Yeah, he's a nutter.
Well, we got Solskjaer up front. We got Guardiola and Arteta in midfield, surely.
Yeah, true. Nuno can go and goal.
With Lampard behind Solskjaer, midfield looks strong, mate.
Yeah, it's not too bad, I guess. Yeah, it's not too bad at all.
We just might have some problems in the wide areas, I think.
Yeah, fullbacks haven't gone on to be particularly good managers, have they?
No, and as you'll find out tomorrow, not too many of them are going to play abroad either.
Benny Blanco, other than football, what's the one thing or activity that you have missed most since the lockdown?
This.
Podding. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still doing it, but it's a lot harder doing it like this.
I agree with you. Yeah, it is a bit tricky. Maybe next week we can get some kind of normality back in. You'd have been on lockdown for 2 weeks.
What are you gonna do? Sit in my front garden and shout at me?
Yeah, why not? Why not? If you've been uncontaminated, then we've got a reasonable reason to come to work, mate. The police.
I just think I've abused my body so much over the last 35 years that it's in me. It's staying in me, and it doesn't care. It's quite happy. It's just going to sit there.
Yeah. Do you know what? I mean, the interesting thing is, what have you missed? I've actually missed like going to the pub. Not that I used to go to the pub a lot. Like a couple of my mates, I'll be chatting to on the phone. How's it going? Yeah, all right. We're talking about all of our worries and woes during this stuff. Which your normal reaction would be, let's go down and have a pint and chat about it. Right? The first reaction of my mates, if they're having a tough time or whatever, would be, we'll go down to the pub, have a pint and chat about it. I can't even do that. Can't even invite my house.
With the little one, I basically he went down the boozer when Spurs played now. But if it was all fine tomorrow, and it was football, my first thought would be, I need to go and have a beer. Like, definitely. So, yes, that.
Jimmy Mac and Cheese, how are you, Jimmy? Hope you're doing well. If the Premier League created a Netflix, Amazon subscription service to stream all matches in the future, which we just talked about, so we're not going to revisit that, but he has a very simple question. He suggested £20 to £25 a month. What's the most you'd pay for that service?
Double that, easy.
But yeah, I would have said 50.
That's me. I would look at it and I'd go, for me, I could leave everything else, but I have to watch the Spurs games, right? So if I can't make it to a Spurs away game, which for me in the coming years is going to get more and more difficult, I built up loyalty points over a certain amount of time, which is going to be some blessings at the moment to do things that's not going to last forever. But so I would happily pay the 30 quid for an away game. So Spurs had 2 away games in a month and they weren't naturally screened live. Yeah, I'd pay 30 quid for both. I wouldn't even flinch at that.
We've got a question from Martin, not a legend yet, _yet on Twitter. My 200th spot in FPL rankings is about to go down the drain. Any hope of having FPL back by June? The answer is no, Martin. And I can't have any sympathy for someone that's 200 in the world when I'm like 500,000.
Just killed the poor guy.
I'm like, you're 200 in the world. I'm actually, basically, I'm being a jealous, envious, miserable git. So no. But
take a screenshot. That's the advice.
Yeah, honestly, what you don't know though is how it will play out on the other side. As much as everyone's thinking it's all going to go to pot, you might end up with the opportunity to really skyrocket up with loads of double game weeks and hit a couple of good captaincies and stuff. So goes up must come down, what goes down must come up kind of scenario. They'll be balancing out. So don't worry, everyone's in exactly the same boat.
I think they will restart a new game with everybody's current points totals, or it will just be a brand new game.
Interesting to think about. Our friend Clean Sheet Wipeout, thank you for your question. Clean Sheet Wipeout, Clean Wipeout FPL. We've already answered this. We talked about the intensive 3 or 4 week camp style thing to finish the season, and if that's the only way we can get the season done, then so be it. So it makes sense, James, as we've been through all the questions, to leave the last question to Amber, as always, becoming a tradition. What kind of funny is your co-host?
Oh, God. Funny ha-ha.
As opposed to what? What's your...
I don't know.
You're not a laugh out loud kind of funny.
I don't know if I'm meant to take that as a compliment.
No, as in, sorry, you don't laugh out loud at stuff, particularly.
I do when I've had a few.
Okay, yeah, fair play. You smile when you've had a few. You're always big. You smile anyway, but you're always just a happy person when you're out and about.
Yeah, but that's because you ain't never watched me when I'm watching Spurs.
All right, so I'd say dry and sarcastic, mildly sarcastic.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
You're mildly dry and sarcastic. You know what's interesting is whether or not your kid, like my kid's sense of humor, the eldest one, is bizarre. Like he's a real laugh out loud kind of person, but he's like his favorite TV shows, for example, would be You've Been Framed, or the US Office. He'll ask me to put YouTube on, and he'll want to watch all the pranks that they do on the US Office, but he'll laugh out loud at them, and I'm just like, you are laughing too much for how funny that was, because it wasn't as funny as you are laughing. Bit of a weird sense of humor. I don't think
the amount of hours I've lost during this lockdown on like out of context Twitter feeds and stuff. It's the best thing to do if you need a little cheer up, out of context human race and stuff like that. Just see people act like melons. Love it.
Yeah, indeed. There we go. That's all the Twitter questions. We talked about Champman FPL. We talked about Harry Kane and Jack Grealish. And we talked about the end of the season. That's enough to cover an hour and 10 minutes, James. Tidy.
Yeah, love it.
Good. We'll be back at you this week with much more content. We have a People's Poll tomorrow where we're looking at English, British players, Brits abroad, British players that have done well overseas. You've put together an 11. I'm going to challenge you on a few of them, but I think this is one of those where, some of these that are getting left out are incredible.
Unbelievable. So particularly some of the midfielders getting left out.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Basically, I would have liked to have picked 11 midfielders in a team, but there's some tough calls getting left out.
We've got the FA Cup quiz on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. We're going to come at you with
It will be. I'm doing it 2010 to present, Suj.
I did see that. I didn't know if you wanted to give that away or not, but we have.
Yeah.
Thursday's throwback. We're looking at Norwich, the Canaries, and bringing back some memories of that. And last but not least, on Friday, you'll be streaming.
Correct. I'll do the sell on Norwich for you there, Suj, because you didn't do it very well. We're looking back at a time when Norwich City nearly won the Premier League in 1993, finishing third with a minus goal difference, and then won against Bayern Munich in Europe the following season. And then it all basically went to pot very quickly after that. So we'll be looking at a few bits from that period of Norwich. I know Mark, FPL Badger, our correspondent, has been in touch. He emailed me some stuff about it as well.
Yeah, I've got a couple of mates up that way, as I mentioned before, so I might tap up a couple of them to give me any memories from
yeah, mate.
So there we go. Yep, exactly. Thank you, anybody and everybody, for listening who's been tuning in. We'll be back at you tomorrow. Do hit like, subscribe, and share the podcast with any bored FPL playing friends who are doing nothing.
I'm waiting for you.
Ciao for now.
Be nice to check your music, man.